Hey everybody. Hey. So it is 12:02, officially November 15th. I know it's really late. It's super late here on the West Coast, but I'm sorry, the East Coast, but I figure this is going to be, transmitted everywhere, and I made a promise to myself that I was going to get this video out. So it'll probably be a minute or two before people start jumping on here, but I feel, oh, hey, Colin. I feel this really strong sense of obligation to address what's going on in Broward and Palm Beach County. If you guys are, all right, so you're in LA. Yeah. So it's 3 hours behind over on the West Coast. So hopefully this is good timing for you guys. This is especially late for me. So if I'm like, kind of, drab over here. It's just because I'm really tired. But like I said, I feel this sense of responsibility to address what's going on down here. Anybody who's paying attention, there's national attention focused in on Broward County, Palm Beach County right now. They have extended the counting of the ballots. Tomorrow is their deadline. So as of 12 hours ago, they had 24 hours. So we're looking at their deadline coming in like sharp tomorrow. The election officials of Broward County say that they think they'll be able to make the deadline on time. But pretty much at this point, everything coming out of there, you really have to take with a grain of salt because they have just proven themselves to be so incredibly corrupt and just incapable, incompetent of working with the people and communicating with the people. Certainly, you guys have seen footage coming out of Broward County. We have Brenda Snipes. She is the supervisor of elections down here. She was sued. She was sued as a result of some very shady activity back in the 2016 Democratic primary, where Tim Canova, who ran as the independent candidate, was, he lost the election to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. However, when I say lost, it was very obvious to him, it was very obvious to his supporters and anybody paying attention that her victory was fraudulent. So, he, out of his own money, this guy isn't, backed the way that Wasserman Schultz is. I mean, her funds, her backing is limitless. She has her brother, Stephen Wasserman, is the attorney. He was in charge of investigating the Allen brothers and the Seth Rich murder investigation. You know what I mean? So she's incredibly well connected. And, Tim Canova took it upon himself. He felt the call of duty to bring this to the public's attention. And would you believe that in the middle of this pending lawsuit, Brenda Snipes admitted in deposition to destroying paper ballots in the middle of a pending lawsuit, a pending investigation. You're not allowed to do that. Okay, that's highly criminal, and it just boggles the mind that anybody in her position with as much experience as she has would think that was okay to do. And the fact that we are looking at the second consecutive election where we're having an exact repeat, not just of the pattern, but the exact same characters are central to the story here. It's incredibly frustrating. Everybody down here is frustrated. People are worried. People are incredibly misled as well. That's not just here, that's the entire country. But in terms of the emotional charge that people have surrounding this particular election, people are very upset. The left feels like, every vote needs to be counted, and the right is frustrated because the left looks like they're cheating. And so, I ask you guys to use your own discernment with, whatever you're absorbing from your chosen media outlets. But from where I'm standing, the whole thing looks like a huge It's just it's so blatantly and brazenly corrupt and sick that you can't help but feel like when they talk about the swamp, they really are talking about South Florida, because it's astonishing what these people believe that they will get away with, and it's because they get away with it all the time. So here I am, you guys. You know I'm horrible at multitasking, but I also really do want to look at your comments. I'm really appreciative that you guys are on here. I'll tell you the truth. I recorded a video earlier and I hated it. I hated it so much that I deleted it, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to go live. I feel like I do a little bit better under the pressure of the live stream. I just keep going. I don't stop. So here I am, you guys. So, there are a lot of really great people that are covering the voter fraud down here. I don't feel like I need to spend too much time on that. It's going to come to a resolution. I don't know what the resolution will be yet, but we'll see how it plays out. One thing I would like to make note of, however, is that Governor Rick Scott, he was given all of the warning signs by Tim Canova and Tim Canova's camp. When Tim Canova brought this lawsuit against the supervisor of elections, Brenda Snipes, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz for their fraudulent victory. Wasserman Schultz's fraudulent victory. Snipes is not a candidate. Tim Canova made it his business to alert the governor, Rick Scott, of this activity. And he said, listen, you have all the authority to remove this woman from her position. I'm urging you to see the corruption for what it is. Please stop this. Set an example. Tim really did everything that he could. And now we see Governor Rick Scott, addressing everybody publicly, saying that this is an outrage, and they've filed emergency motions to have her, have this investigated or have it removed. And, he's crying corruption, but really, if anybody that's paying attention would just realize that he was given fair warning that this was going to happen. So I don't believe Governor Rick Scott. I think that now it's all too convenient. He did officially, yesterday, officially recuse himself from having any kind of involvement in the result of his own election, because he is sitting governor. He does have, a hand in it. There's a conflict of interest. He admitted, he's already said that he's not going to have anything to do with it. So somebody else will do that in his stead. So we are looking for the results. The deadline will be tomorrow. I don't know if they will announce the results at the, within the same, time frame, if they expect a public answer later than that. I'm not 100% sure, but I guess we're going to find out during the day tomorrow. President Trump publicly denounces what's going on in Broward County and calls for Brenda Snipes to be fired. Again, if you guys have seen any footage of this woman, it doesn't take much to tell that she is just, she's like the living epitome of the Grinch who stole Christmas. She's just a horrible looking woman. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, these people are really, their evil, corrupt nature, it just leaks through their pores, and it's obvious to anybody with eyes to see that these people really are swamp creatures. So another point that I would like to bring up, it's very interesting to me, but this is a very important week for South Florida, not just the elections. But it's notable to say that it has been planned for quite a while. This was brought to my attention just 2 days ago, that this week from November 13th to the 16th in Sunrise, Florida, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, you guys know that was the high school, that was the site of the shooting, February 14th. Alleged shooter Nick Cruz is being held right now, and since then, in the main jail in Broward County in Fort Lauderdale. And this week from the 13th to the 16th, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School they're holding a public safety commission meeting, specifically to recount the events of February 14th and all of the circumstances surrounding it. So all of the official documentation, everything from the dispatch calls to the police reports to the radio transmissions, the CAD entries, and video. There's going to be a video presentation. This is going to be a long, drawn out, several days on end, back to back, where officials, government officials, police officers, people on all kinds of boards. They're going to have a representative from Henderson Behavioral Health come and speak. To me, this really sounds like a lot of people that are defending their actions on that day. And I find it interesting that there would be all of this crazy stuff happening in Broward County on the same week, where if there was nothing else going on, I think a lot of people would be very, very interested to listen in on the information that is coming out of this public safety commission meeting, because Sheriff Scott Israel is going to be in attendance himself. I believe he spoke on this day at that location and gave several statements. And so this will go on till Friday. I do plan on being there. I wish I could have shown up earlier. I wish I could have shown up on the day that it started, which was Tuesday. But I'm only able to show up on Friday. So I will be there. I will try my best to speak to people, maybe get somebody on camera. I try not to be too bravado or too insensitive, because we are talking about a very, very somber and tragic event. But I would just very much like to hear what goes on, what people are saying, what's coming out. Heidi Vandenberg and myself, Heidi from Channel 27, she actually took a ban on her channel because we aired the 911 archived the calls. Okay, so as they came in on dispatch, it's all recorded, and there are apps that you can have legally. People have these apps on their phones that record and archive police footage over the radios. Okay, so she heard that one a few days after the actual shooting, and then we played it again and played the later version on her channel, and it was heavily edited. Lots of things were missing. Okay. So anyways, I don't mean to get way too deep into what happened that day. That I'm not going to let this go, but that is something that's a topic for another day. My focus tonight really is going to be on the fact that this election, this voter fraud drama is taking place on the same week that this Public Safety Commission meeting is taking place. And I think people should know and would want to know all of these important facts that are coming out about this event that shook the nation. It really was one of a kind, in the sense that, people like to lump the Parkland shooting together with the Boston Marathon bombing or Sandy Hook or Pulse nightclub. And the events I just named, nobody died. These were staged events where we're talking fake blood, we're talking crisis actors, all of the above. Parkland did employ several of the the patterns of false flags that we're accustomed to seeing now. They did employ crisis actors. You got your David Hoggs, right? But at the same time, this was also a real live fire execution, and it was quite ritualistic in nature. The more that you study it, the more that you learn the correlations, the numbers, everything. Really, it comes together in a very ritualistic way. It speaks to a very ritualistic type of event. And so I think that there's a lot of significance to that. And I think that we're moving forward. I promise not to let this go. I feel such a deep sense of empathy for everybody involved, including Nicholas Cruz, because I wholeheartedly believe that he did not do this alone. I believe that he was born, bred, groomed for this and handled to perpetuate this particular crime. He's a patsy. He's the fall guy. And, it's coming to light now that Broward County, for some reason, which I promise you I will keep investigating, for some reason, Broward County is something like an MK Ultra patsy factory farm where they just keep pumping people out of this state, of this part of Florida, southern Florida. You got some of the craziest people coming out of here, and it could have something to do with the fact that the port of Everglades is down here. It's the leading port in exports, international exports in the country. It's the biggest port that there is. I wrote it down somewhere, but the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, they have 328 ports nationwide, and their South Floridian ports are their most busy. It's their heaviest transfer of goods and exports. And, we're kind of getting into some weird stuff here, but actually, you know what? I'm not even going to go there because that really, truly is a video for another day. I would like to talk about the Port of Everglades and some rather sinister connections that I've made regarding the DNC and these ports down here. So, the DNC is they're infamous at this point for riding on the backs of immigrants, documented and undocumented. They ride on their emotions, they ride on their labor, they ride on their vote. And so I think that this is just this heinous injustice. And so they really, the left really enjoys their lax border laws because they love, unstable immigration policies. They need undocumented people to work with, to kind of fill this quota, to fill this gap that they desperately need. So, it is very interesting to me that on a week where this meeting takes place and officers are going to be there that were on the day of the shooting, and all of these people are going to come forward. It just so happens that yesterday, so it is officially now actually Thursday, so late Tuesday, so around 6 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, Nicholas Cruz, who is being held, I have it on good authority that he's actually being held on the 4th floor of the main jail in Broward County in Fort Lauderdale. The 4th floor, to my understanding, is actually reserved for a kind of the people that are accused of any kind of internal corruption. So corrupt cops, corrupt officials, anybody that has this kind of status, power, pull, rank where they need to be essentially segregated from the rest of the population. So it's entirely understandable that Nicholas Cruz would need to be isolated. It's my understanding that he receives an unusual amount of threats from other inmates, and pretty much for his own safety. They say for his own safety, he really needs to be kept in solitary confinement. I happen to believe that part of the reason they keep him so isolated is to keep him from talking. If any of you have followed Nicholas Cruz's story and any of his interviews, if you were to read the transcripts alone, they're so heavily redacted. The documents themselves are mostly black blocks. There's just the censors. And so that really begs the question, well, what are they so afraid of him saying? What is it that they don't want us to hear him say? So this is very telling to me. I lived in Parkland, you guys. I went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. Some of you know that, some of you don't. So just to bring everything back to reality, I went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, where the shooting took place. And I actually knew personally someone that was slain that day, Coach Aaron Feist. I've spoken about him before. I knew him. He was a great guy. He was always very laid back. Everybody loved him. He was like a staple of the school. He was like part of the furniture. He was just, um, he was a great guy, and a lot of good people died that day, a lot of promising young people. And so this tragedy has a lot of people uh, enraged, frustrated, angry. And what I see is this intense channeling of all this emotion directly onto Nicholas Cruz, when I truly believe with my whole body, mind, soul, spirit that he did not do this alone. So I see this as a gross injustice against those that have fallen, and against those that survive the slain, to allow the people, the adults that are just as responsible for what happened. They're walking free while Nicholas Cruz bears this impossible burden. Of course he did wrong. He did wrong. I don't even think that he's fully aware of what he did. I think that that's how deeply into a hole they brought his mind. Google voice to skull technology. That's just one thing that we know about, let alone the technology that we don't understand yet. So, people hate me because I advocate for Nicholas Cruz in any capacity whatsoever. I'm not saying I would be friends with the guy. I wouldn't want him around my family. I wouldn't want to be alone with him. But I also I believe I know how this stuff works. And I think that they found their guy. They found him from a very, very young age. It's possible they actually chose him based on his mother. And that's a show for another day. So that's MK Ultra techniques. This is where the CIA comes in, and they use genetic mapping and bloodlines and that sort of thing. It's very sinister. We can't kid ourselves and convince ourselves that we know all of their techniques and all of their technologies, because we absolutely do not. But it is coming to light. So, it's also my understanding that Nicholas Cruz, oh, I didn't even tell you guys what happened. Oh my gosh. Let me just take a second and see what you guys are saying. There's Heidi. Yeah. Okay. So it's true. So Heidi and I talked last night for a long, long time. And we were talking about Nick Cruz. We were talking about the whole thing, everything. And then 6 p.m. Tuesday night, Nicholas Cruz allegedly attacked a detention deputy. Deputy Baltrin was his name. And, he is being kept in solitary confinement. And when you're in solitary confinement, you have 1 to 2 hours a day maximum each day to leave your cell and to walk around a room. So here Nick Cruz is allegedly walking around a room. Deputy Baltrin corrects Nick Cruz and says, "Stop dragging your feet." And at that point, allegedly, Nicholas Cruz was triggered by this statement, made some kind of a gesture which threatened Deputy Baltrin. And at that point, allegedly, I keep saying allegedly because there's no proof of this that I'm aware of, that Nick Cruz then rushed the deputy, even overtook him and gained control of his taser. So he was able to disarm him and gain control of a weapon. A struggle ensued. Baltrin eventually regained control of the weapon, and then subdued Nick Cruz. Apparently, they're both okay. Nick Cruz does apparently have some bumps and bruises, but I do feel like it is very, very interesting that no reports have come out about this kind of behavior from Nick Cruz while he's been in custody. Now he's there awaiting, he's just awaiting something, because there is no trial date set to my knowledge. They have been litigating this and sitting on this for months. Nothing is getting done. And it's very, very upsetting. And I gotta tell you, I like law enforcement. We need law enforcement, okay? I'm not a cop hater. I like police, I like military. I think that there's a place for it. But when I heard that story, I mean, you've got to be a special kind of like jerk to, this kid has 1 hour maybe to walk around, and stretch his legs, and you got to tell him, correct the way he's walking. So, I mean, that's just, at this point, this is just my opinion. That's just me. I just feel like, leave him be, let him, just leave the kid alone. Right. But again, people hate me for that because he is a murderer. He did take people's loved ones from them. But whatever, I'm an empathetic person. So fucking sue me. Oh, there I go with my language. Anyways. Okay. So, I don't believe that he knows that there is this Public Safety Commission meeting going on this week regarding him. I don't know if he knows that he's going to be spoken sort of on behalf of or in reference to by Henderson Behavioral Health, which is a huge, by the way, if you guys want to learn more about any of these organizations, I have so many notes here, but I really don't know where those legal gray areas are. But I can tell you that I've looked up some of the people central to this organization, and it is nasty. It is really, really nasty. All of these people have motives. They all have agendas. There's big pharma is interested all the way across the board. These people have ties to DC. These people have ties to international child welfare organizations. And if it was that great, if these companies were that successful, I don't think that human trafficking, and specifically child sex trafficking, would be a multi-billion-dollar industry annually. So I feel like these people aren't doing their jobs. And this place, Henderson Behavioral Health, they're supposed to be nationally recognized as this fantastic organization. They do so much great work for people. I'm not saying that they don't, and I'm not saying that they haven't helped people. But Broward County is pumping out crazies at an astonishing rate. So I can tell you one thing, that the mental health system in Broward County is exceedingly broken and corrupt. And all of these MK Ultra patsies coming out of Broward County, the first place I want to look at is the mental health, the child welfare, and all of it's corrupt once you start putting the pieces together. Now, I have put the pieces together. I have names, I have locations, I have phone numbers, but you guys, I don't want to get Clintoned. I don't want to get sued. I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to have my body broken and thrown into the swamp to become gator food. That's not really a good look for me. But I do want to talk about these things. I hope and pray that there comes a time when this kind of information, when in a real full-scale investigation is opened into these people and into the corruption in Broward County, it would blow your mind. I'll tell you one right now. Oh God, I'm going to regret it. Should I say it? I'll tell you, there have been more deaths in South Florida. I think just the holistic healers alone were up past 80 in Florida alone. They must have a lot of henchmen down here. One thing we definitely do know, Texas, Florida, and California are the highest, the states with the highest rates of human trafficking. Okay, so obviously Texas and California are huge. Florida is significantly smaller. So you can imagine the numbers are even bigger per capita in this state. And so, when we're talking about something so organized, we have to look at the ports. We have to look at what's coming in, what's going out. Human trafficking truly is this huge, huge billions and billions of dollars every year. South Florida has, like I said, they are a leader in import and exports. I wanted to say also, some of you, no, I can't. I want to so bad, but I really can't. I feel like I've said enough. I really do feel like I touched on some things I wanted to. If I take this any further, I'm going to just keep going. And I would actually like to save it for another show. I'm being advised that the shorter each episode, the more likely people are to sit down and watch it. But so I believe I'm going to save this for another day. I also wanted to say, though, that I don't actually feel the impending sense of doom that I think they want us as voters. Well, I'm not actually a voter. Oh God, you guys are going to kill me for that. I'm not registered to vote. For myself, for my own well-being, it's just my personal belief. I wasn't going to partake in the system. Especially not in Palm Beach or Broward County, because the system here is so corrupt. I truly didn't want my hands in it this time around. So, come for me if you want to, but that is that's just how I decided to go this time around. But I really do think that they want people to be extremely nervous, extremely concerned. We don't want Andrew Gillum as to represent us. Okay, Andrew Gillum is a socialist. He is as corrupt as they come, and he's just more bad news. But I happen to believe that everything that they're perpetuating right now, publicly, nationally, internationally, for the world to see, they really are sort of hanging themselves with a rope that they've just been given. So in that respect, I think that we can actually be slightly excited, dare I say optimistic, about what the outcome of this is. I have faith in people. I really actually do. I don't think that people are going to just lie down and take this. People I talk to, people in the community, everybody is a lot more aware than you might actually think that this corruption not only goes on, but that it's deep rooted, and that if we don't do something, if we don't hold somebody accountable, this absolutely will not remedy itself. This is something that affects everybody. And moving forward, I am very excited to find out a lot of the secrets, a lot of the the hidden inner workings of what goes on in the South Floridian swamp. And ultimately, I think that that's where we're heading, because their machine is falling apart in front of our eyes. The desperation is just insane. The reason why I brought up the 3 states, California, Texas, and Florida, highest trafficking rates, but they also have the, when it comes to the immigration laws. Okay, so Florida, again, huge port state. California, again, lots of immigrants in and out. The DNC loves, like I said, the DNC loves immigrants. Florida alone has hundreds of thousands of immigrants, some documented, some not. And a lot of the trafficking, a lot of the children and adults that are sold into trafficking, unfortunately, they are undocumented immigrants. So people think, that these are sanctuary states and they're all being, welcomed with open arms, and all of that's very wonderful, and it's idealist. But the fact is that they are not safe. If they are undocumented, they're not just getting away with something, they're in danger. They're, as far as our government goes, and as far as their rights here, they're not, they're disposable. That's what they are. I don't feel that they are that way as human beings, obviously, but the government sees them as completely disposable resources. And so, these lax immigration laws are not good for anybody. They're not good for our country. They're not good for the person. They're not good for the citizen. It's just a very slippery slope. So we need to be looking very closely at the DNC's motives, what they plan to do next. All eyes on the ports, all eyes on the Port of Everglades. I'm working on something. I was actually about to get into it here, but I don't think I'm going to get into it tonight because it is quite a rabbit hole. But just to give you guys something to bite off and chew on, U.S. border, Customs and Border Control, just a few days before the February 14th shooting, they, along with some help with their sort of the collaborations with huge conglomerates, with shipping companies, shipping conglomerates, they all okayed this new process where you could remotely and electronically submit registration and documents so that you can export vehicular cargo. Now, I know that that just seems like a whole bunch of hullabaloo, right? But I have reason to believe that U.S. Border Control and Border Patrol, Customs, Border Protection is such a mouthful. There's so many agencies. What did I say I was going to call them? I wanted to sum that up. So every time I said it, okay, so when I say U.S. Customs and Border Protection, I'm just going to say CBP. CBP. I have reason to believe that CBP is extremely responsible. They're very culpable for a lot of the effery. Okay, that's me editing myself. For a lot of the stuff that's been going down. I think that they have, they utilize their guys, they utilize illegals, they utilize all kinds of corrupt affiliations to pull things off. And so U.S. Customs, CBP, enacted this new process where essentially anybody in the country from their computer could then offer or send via email these documents so that they could export a vehicle from the Port of Everglades internationally anywhere. And what that did was that saved time, and that saved the person shipping this cargo. It saved them a trip, whereas before they would have had to show up in person and register the vehicle in person, and they took all of that out. That is no longer an issue. Now you can do it remotely from any computer in the country. And another thing I didn't know that there is such thing as customs clearing agents. So customs is a huge industry. Okay, massive imports, exports. It's what keeps, it's what's kept this country going. And so there are agencies designed specifically for their whole purpose is to provide customers with agents that make the process of customs easy breezy. And so there are some really shady, legal gray area here. I don't know exactly how far I want to go, but it's all written down right here. Several of these conglomerate companies, they're conglomerate shipping companies. I'll tell you the name of one right now, and I'm sure you guys are familiar. You've seen the trucks on the road, and that would be Crowley Shipping. So if we've ever seen the big trucks with the big Crowley on it, this conglomerate was established back in 1892. It's one of the oldest freight and shipping companies in the country. And Crowley Maritime Corporation has, obviously, over the past many years of business, they have bought many companies, and they now have tons of smaller companies that they are in charge of and are very closely linked to them. So Crowley Maritime Corporation helped to pave the way. They donated, they collaborated with with CBP. They collaborated with CBP to allow this new process of registration to get through. So they have an invested interest. Crowley Maritime Corporation wanted to make it easier for people to ship vehicular cargo internationally. This doesn't seem like a very far-fetched thing. We need vehicular cargo to be shipped. We need all kinds of cargo to be shipped. I am just asking people to look at the connections, to look at the motivations possibly behind here, and look at the people behind it. Look at the timing of it. The reason why I keep bringing up CBP and why I think it's weird that they would pass this new process on a February 8th, when the shooting took place on February 14th. I believe that CBP was at the scene on February 14th. There are numerous reports. There is even aerial footage of a white pickup truck, a federal vehicle. We can confirm that it is a federal vehicle that was reported to have 3 men exit the school throw 3 large trash bags into the back of this white pickup truck, this white federal vehicle, and flee the scene. I would love to be present at this commission meeting this week so that I can hear, because they're supposed to, apparently they're going to present all of the original dispatch, all of the archived footage, everything that happened, all the reports, everything. It's all supposedly going to come out, right? I would really, really love to be a fly on the wall and find out if anybody is going to say anything about this federal white pickup truck that was seen being jumped into by 3 men with large black trash bags. Now, I did a little bit of research, and I wanted to find out which agencies, which government agencies utilize the use of a white 2-door pickup truck. Now, just for the heck of it, I looked up CBP. And, it has this very distinct diagonal blue stripe that runs. It's only on one side of it. And unfortunately, the aerial footage that we have of this white federal vehicle, the pickup truck, there is no blue stripe visible. However, we are seeing it from the left side where the stripe is on the right side. So again, that's just my opinion. I happen to believe that that federal vehicle was a CBP vehicle. And so, again, we have this connection. Why are they so interested? What do they have to gain? And obviously, we can see the fallout from the Parkland shooting was, it wasn't just that people died. It was that they were trying to push these new laws, push these new policies, create this new army of kids that were going to, in 4 or 5 years from now, going to be movers and shakers, all of which have been traumatized by this devastating shooting. The whole thing was just a horrible, horrible psychological operation where real people died, really bad things happened. And so it's very obvious to me, we have CIA affiliations. The CIA and the DNC are like one and the same. You know what I mean? They all, it's like one big circle jerk. So, one more thing I wanted to say, going back to these customs clearing agents. I didn't know that this was a thing, but Crowley Maritime Corporation, like I said, they've ended up buying and owning all of these new companies as they've been in business for so many years. They're extremely successful. Crowley owns a company called Customized Brokers. They are a Miami-based customs clearing agency who specialize in refrigerated and perishable cargo. Now listen, fruits and vegetables. Shipping like this where it's, specified to perishable goods and produce and things like that. We just wouldn't do well as a country. We need these services, okay? So, but all of that aside, we need to take a better look at the Port of Everglades and how huge of an industry human trafficking is. So it happens somewhere, and it happens on somebody's watch. Where does it happen, and on whose watch does it happen on? All signs point to Broward County, Miami-Dade. Okay, so let's take a closer look at Crowley. Crowley happened to be the shipping company that was contracted in 2010 to aid in the relief with for the Haiti earthquake in 2010. I think that was like a 7.0 earthquake. It was just massive. We all know what transpired as a result of the Clinton Foundation going into Haiti, metaphorically raping this place of their resources, of their people. The Clinton Foundation got their hands really dirty. We all know Laura Silsby Gaylor was busted smuggling 33 Haitian children out of the country and was then held on allegations of child trafficking. All of this took back. The Clinton Foundation, it's basically just an arm of the CIA over here. Like, oh hi, let's look over here. So it's interesting to me that also in Haiti, the Crowley donated $80,000 to the American Red Cross to help collaborate to help with the relief efforts out there. So to me, I just look at a company and I'm like, okay, who trusts them enough? Obviously, they have enough trust. They have enough, rapport with some of these other groups that felt it was their responsibility to go in and to aid in the relief effort over in Haiti. By the way, that contract with Crowley, it obviously wasn't the Clinton Foundation. The Clinton Foundation didn't contract them to anything. Crowley was contracted, working under contract with U.S. Transportation Command. So the U.S. government trusts Crowley enough to handle that situation. So listen, I just want people to ask questions. And I know you guys do. I know you guys ask really, really good questions, actually. And I like I said, the gray areas here, the legal gray areas, I'm not 100% sure what I am allowed to say, what not to say. I certainly don't want to, attempt to incriminate anybody that hasn't done anything wrong. But at the same time, where there's smoke, there's fire. And what I like to say is where there's smoke, there's Clintons, or where there's smoke, there's Democrats. I'm just kidding. Republicans there are some Republicans that are just equally as bad. Essentially, they're all really working together. But in Broward County and Palm Beach County, we are seeing that the DNC really has their tentacles latched firmly inside of, just at the root, at the base of the swamp here. And as a Floridian, I've been here for years now. I just feel a sense of responsibility to fight for this place and to speak on behalf of all the people, undocumented immigrants, documented immigrants, Democrats, Republicans. Everybody needs to know that the system is incredibly broken. It is incredibly corrupt. It is built on a foundation of lies and human trafficking. So, and obviously it's not a joke. I don't mean to giggle or make light of it, but if we don't find something to giggle about, we'll just cry. So I really think that's it for tonight. It's 47 minutes long. I wanted to keep it shorter than that even, but I'm actually really glad I did this, forced myself to do it. I have not looked at the comments. You guys know how I work. If I look at the comments, I can't think about anything else. I will lose my train of thought. But I am most likely going to go back and read all these comments. So I hope you guys were nice, because if not, I'll find you. Just kidding. See you later.